Let's get brutally honest for a moment. Have you ever looked around at your life and thought, why do I feel so empty even when everything seems fine? You've got the job, the relationship, the routine. But deep inside, there's a void, like something's missing. You smile on the outside, but inside you're screaming for something more. And here's the truth, that emptiness isn't because you're broken. It's because you've been disconnected from what really matters. You see, we live in a world obsessed with appearances. We chase achievements, applause, likes, validation. But in the process, we stop listening to our own soul. The emptiness, it's a signal, a wake-up call. It's not here to punish you, it's here to remind you you were made for more than just surviving. You were made for living fully, deeply, authentically. So let's break this down. The real reason you feel empty isn't because you're not enough. It's because you've been feeding the wrong parts of yourself. You've been hustling for approval instead of alignment. You've been numbing the pain instead of facing it. You've been living a script someone else wrote instead of authoring your own story. The fix, it's not out there, it's in you, and it starts by getting radically honest about what you've been avoiding. What emotions have you buried? What dreams have you abandoned? What parts of yourself have you silenced to fit in, please others, or play it safe? You want to feel alive again? Then stop outsourcing your happiness. Start asking better questions. What lights you up? What contribution are you here to make? What relationships feed your soul, not just your ego? And no, you don't need a perfect plan. You need a decision to reclaim your life, a decision to reconnect with your values, your truth, your purpose. Because when you start living in alignment with your true self, when your daily actions reflect your deepest values, that is when the emptiness fades. The truth is, you don't need to be fixed, you need to be found. Found by yourself, found in moments of honesty, courage, and real connection. You're not alone in this. Every person you admire has felt that same void. The difference is, they used it. They turned their pain into power, their confusion into clarity, and their emptiness into fuel for change. So today, you get to decide, will you keep numbing the emptiness? Or will you face it, learn from it, and rise from it? You were not born to feel hollow. You were born to feel fully alive. The power is already in you. It's time to wake it up. Feeling empty can be one of the most unsettling experiences in life. It's not always loud or dramatic. In fact, it often creeps in quietly, during moments when everything seems fine. You may have a stable job, people around you, routines that work, but deep down, something feels off. That hollow sensation in your chest, the numbness that clouds your joy, the lack of enthusiasm even when life appears to be going well. These are not random emotions. They are signals. They are your mind and heart trying to tell you that something is missing, not from the outside world, but from within. We've been taught to see this emptiness as weakness or as a problem we need to fix with distractions. Some dive into work, thinking that more productivity will push the feeling away. Others chase relationships, hoping someone else will fill the void. Some numb it with food, scrolling, alcohol, or achievement. But none of these touch the real source, because the truth is, the emptiness isn't there to break you. It's there to wake you. It's a signal, not a sentence. It's a call to reconnect with what's real, what's meaningful, what's you. People often think that if they feel empty, something must be wrong with them. But emptiness doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been disconnected from your purpose, your values, or your truth. It means that somewhere along the line, you stopped listening to your own voice. You started living for the world's expectations. You started surviving instead of creating, pleasing instead of expressing, performing instead of feeling. And now your soul is raising its hand, saying, I'm still here, pay attention. You have to stop judging the feeling and start learning from it. What if this emptiness is the most honest part of you? What if it's your inner compass trying to steer you back to the life you were meant to live? If you could listen closely, you might hear it saying, you've outgrown this version of yourself. It's time to evolve. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. You don't need to panic or run from it. You need to pause, reflect, and ask yourself some powerful questions. Where have I been out of alignment? What do I truly want? When did I stop feeling excited to wake up? This sense of emptiness is not something to hide from, it's something to honor, because if you're willing to face it head on, to see it not as a flaw but as a message, you'll discover a powerful truth. This feeling is an invitation. It's a doorway, and on the other side of it is clarity, energy, and purpose. You were never meant to walk through life feeling numb. You were meant to feel fully alive. That begins the moment you stop ignoring the emptiness and start listening to what it's really trying to teach you. Most people don't realize that the emptiness they feel is not caused by what they lack, but by what they're feeding. We live in a world that constantly tells us what should matter: status, success, appearance, approval, attention. So we start chasing these things like they're oxygen. We think if we just get that promotion, earn that money, post the right pictures, say the right things, or date the right person, we'll finally feel whole. But here's the hard truth. Those things might bring a quick high, but they don't bring lasting peace. Why? Because they don't feed your soul. They feed your ego. The ego wants to win, to impress, to be seen. But the soul, it wants to connect, to grow, to give. And when we spend all our energy feeding the ego and starving the soul, we end up exhausted, anxious, and emotionally empty. You can't fix a spiritual hunger with material achievements. You can't patch up internal disconnection with external noise. That's why so many people hit their goals and still feel miserable. That's why you can check all the boxes and still feel like something is missing, because you've been feeding the wrong parts of yourself. There's nothing wrong with success. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be seen or validated. But the moment your self-worth becomes tied to those things, the emptiness begins to grow. You begin living reactively, constantly chasing the next thing that will make you feel good enough for a moment, but those moments fade, and what you're left with is the same hollow feeling you were trying to escape. Because deep down, you know you're not living in alignment with what really matters to you. You're surviving, not thriving, performing, not expressing, numbing, not feeling. So how do you fix it? You stop and realign. You start feeding the parts of you that bring real fulfillment, the parts connected to purpose, to contribution, to growth, to love. You start asking, not how do I look, or what do they think of me, but who am I becoming? And does this feel true to me? That shift changes everything. Suddenly, you're not just running toward more. You're moving toward meaning. You stop hustling for worth and start living from it. You begin honoring your emotions, your truth, your voice. Feeding the wrong parts of yourself will always lead to emptiness, no matter how shiny the life looks on the outside. But the moment you start feeding your soul, when your actions match your values, when you follow your curiosity, when you connect deeply with yourself and others, you begin to feel something different. Not just a spark, but a fire that says, this is who I really am, and this is what I'm here to do. You don't need more noise, you need more truth. The emptiness begins to fade the moment you stop performing and start aligning. That's when fulfillment starts to flow, not from what you get, but from who you become. The real solution to that hollow feeling inside isn't something you'll find in a book, a relationship, a promotion, or a vacation. The fix doesn't come from something you can buy, achieve, or even receive from someone else. It comes from within you. That might sound cliché, but it's the deepest truth you'll ever confront. Because no matter how much success you gain, no matter how many people admire you, none of it can fill a void that was never meant to be filled from the outside. So many people spend their lives running. Running from silence, running from self-reflection, running from the fear that if they stop moving, they'll be forced to face the parts of themselves they've ignored for years. But that's exactly where healing begins. The moment you stop outsourcing your happiness, when you stop expecting your job, your partner, your social media following, or your possessions to complete you, is the moment you reclaim your power. Fulfillment begins when you make a decision. A decision to stop chasing and start creating. A decision to stop waiting and start acting. You've got to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm done trying to be who the world expects me to be. It's time to become who I really am. That's not easy. It means facing pain you've buried. It means acknowledging that you've been living out of alignment, but it's also the most liberating moment of your life, because once you take ownership, you take back control. This doesn't mean you need to have all the answers. You don't need a 10-step plan or a perfect path. What you need is a shift in identity, from someone who's reacting to life to someone who's creating it. That means you start paying attention to your inner voice, not just the noise around you. You start making choices based on your values, not your fears. You choose honesty over comfort, growth over safety, and purpose over popularity. Real fulfillment comes when your outer world begins to reflect your inner truth, when the way you live matches who you really are, when your relationships are built on depth, not convenience, when your work excites you not because it pays the bills, but because it taps into something meaningful. That alignment doesn't just ease the emptiness, it replaces it with power, clarity, and joy. No one else can do this for you. No relationship, no success, no recognition can substitute for the work of self-discovery and self-alignment. But the good news, you already have everything you need, the wisdom, the courage, the desire to grow. It's all there, waiting for your permission to rise. The moment you stop looking outside for wholeness and start building it from within, the emptiness begins to disappear. And in its place, you'll find something far more powerful, a life that feels real, that feels yours, and that fills you up from the inside out.